Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing World War Z. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today, more zombies? Let's get to it. Now, aside from some of the launch day snafus that plagues a lot of online only or online games, World War Z is available and was available starting yesterday. So what's it all about? How is it? And is it worth your money? World War Z on the consoles are $39.99 US. On the PC, it is slightly cheaper. World War Z is, at its core, representative of the movie of the same title. Now, there is no Brad Pitt avatar, so don't even bother asking. Now, each episode is a storytelling from that perspective. So there's a group of 4 people for each location, and you go through a story of what it's like and what they have to go through. And they all, except for Tokyo, they all have 3 episodes. Tokyo has 2. And of course, they can always add on to that as they go along. So down the road, they could offer DLC that adds to the story so that you can see what else is going on, either with the same characters or possibly with a new group of characters. Now, aside from future plans, what about how is it right now? Now, you have essentially 3 different modes. You have an offline mode where you can play with AI. You have an online mode where you can play with up to 3 other players from around the globe. And you have PvP, VZ, which is 4 players per team, so 8 players total, and then some zombies thrown in as well. Now, with the co-op, either offline or online, you can choose the episode and go through objective-based missions. So you go to this location, defend this point, go pick these up, take them back, etc. Defend this person. So you have that sort of objective-based missions. Now, in terms of how does it look? It looks pretty good, actually. It is, you are going to see the same zombies over and over. Now, there are different types of zombies. You have just the normal running zombies, but you also have specialized zombies. You have lurkers, you have gas mask or gas bags, you have bulls, you have different types of zombies that require slightly different strategies, and they always announce it. So if you're listening, they will say, oh, there's a gas bag nearby, or there's a bull, or oh, look out, there's a lurker. And those zombies act a little bit differently than the normal zombies. So when you know that there's a bull around, you're going to look for him, and you know that he's going to be armored, and you're going to have to use extra firepower, use a lot of bullets, or whatever to take him down. Whereas if you know there's a lurker nearby, you're going to check corners as you go around instead of running around, because the lurker will jump straight at you and knock you down and just start beating you. One of the things that I'm not overly excited about is that the zombies can overwhelm you. They can knock you down and just start beating the snot out of you, and you can't do anything about it. You have to wait for one of your teammates to help you out. So once you're down and they're beating on you, you have to wait for someone to help you. So even though you have bullets, if you have a melee weapon or whatever, it doesn't matter because you're completely helpless. Now, some of the sounds while you're playing seem a little bit off. I noticed that some of the grenade sounds sounded a little bit more like a pop. And I don't know if it was just the sound wasn't coming through fully or if that was the actual sound. Now, when you're setting up a co-op experience, whether it's offline or online, you can choose the preferred character that you have, but there's going to be one of each. So if 2 people choose the same person, then you'll have to be someone else. In addition to that, you can choose your class. There's different classes to choose from with a different skill tree for each one and progression system for each one, as well as different weapons that you start off with and equipment. And the class that you are can overlap with other players. So although maybe you like the gunslinger, someone else can also play the gunslinger. And there are more than 4 classes available. Now, it will take you a while to go through progression for each one. Additionally, every weapon in the co-op experience also has experience based on how often you use it and how many zombies you kill with it. So the assault rifle or the combat shotgun or the shotgun or the pistol or the sniper rifle, they all have their own progression. And with that progression, you can get and buy upgrades. They will change the amount of damage or the magazine size, the stability, accuracy, etc. So you get more powerful gear. So when you see an assault rifle, you know it's going to be that upgraded version that you just bought, which is pretty cool. Now, of course, when you're talking about the apocalypse, you're talking about scarcity. So you have a limited amount of ammo, a limited amount of equipment to use, limited amount of whether it's grenades or claymores or Molotovs or what have you. So every time you use one, you're going to be looking to grab another one. Same thing with medkits. You can hold one medkit, but once you use it, then you're going to be on the lookout for another one. And because of that scarcity, there are items that are strewn about that can only be picked up by one player. Now, the ammo refills can be picked up by anyone. If someone chooses to switch a weapon, they're going to swap out their weapon with the new one, and so their old weapon is going to be sitting there instead. So if you don't really like the scout rifle and someone picked up another weapon and dropped their combat PDW, then you can go and pick that up, or what have you. You find a crossbow, you can pick that up. So it is a little bit of a competition in the co-op because you're looking for these items before other players get to them, especially equipment and medkits. If you're using your grenades or you're using your stun gun or whatever you happen to have as equipment and you need that equipment bag, then you're going to be running around looking for it, as well as those other players. And whoever gets to it first is the one that is the victor. Now, victory only comes if you all make it out. Now, I did have a situation where I did have an AFK player. You do have the option to kick them out, but if you don't kick them out, there isn't an inactivity timer. So they will continue to be in your instance so long as you don't kick them out. Now, there are varying difficulties, starting from the starter all the way up to insane. I think there's 5 or 6 different difficulty levels, and each one, of course, makes it harder. And the game is supposed to scale depending on how well or poorly you're doing. So the game is supposed to kind of swing things in your favor. If you're really having a rough time and you're all low on health, low on ammo, etc., maybe they'll throw in a stationary machine gun or an automated turret to help you out. And really, there's a fine line there that they're walking, where how much help is too much help and how many zombies are too much or too little, dependent on the level of difficulty that you're using and what's the factor, what is the risk, what is the percentage that you have in order to succeed or fail based on everything that's going on. So I think that's a very difficult thing to do in a game, but I think they do it pretty well. The starter difficulty is going to be pretty easy, where you can just basically walk through and just mow everyone down, all the zombies. Speaking of mowing everyone down, there is friendly fire, and based on the difficulty will determine how much damage the other player takes. So on the starter difficulty, you shoot someone else and it's not that big of a deal, but on the higher difficulties, it is very punishing. So keep that in mind. So going back, difficulty. On the starter difficulty, you can pretty much run through the episodes. It'll be very easy to do, even at the very beginning when you don't really have any upgrades. I think even on the next higher level, or the second difficulty level, it's not going to be too terribly difficult. It will present a little bit more of a difficulty, but it's not too bad. The higher level difficulties are going to be difficult, and that is when stealth will come into play. You do have pistols that have silencers, so you can go around crouched, and as long as you're not noticed, you can go around and shoot the zombies in the head, take them out quietly, don't attract extra zombies, and you can go deep into a mission without being noticed, conserving that equipment, conserving that ammo that is hard to get. Because where that ammo and those equipment were on the easier difficulty levels, all of a sudden they may be absent in the higher difficulty levels. So I think they do a good job as far as that goes. Now, your progression, whether you choose PvP or PvE, does not overlap. So your progression in PvP is separate from your progression in PvE. And you can choose from Swarm Domination, King of the Hill, Swarm Deathmatch, Scavenge Raid, and Vaccine Hunt. Now they all have different objectives based on what you want to do. So if you're looking for a specific type of match, then you can certainly do so. Domination, of course, is capture the zone with zombies. So every so often you have a swarm of zombies that come out and you'll have to adjust. Now, in a way, this is good because this keeps people from camping certain areas. You will have to move around. If you don't, you will get overrun. And you will, of course, are notified when those zombies are coming. The other thing is that the mini-map will turn entirely red when the zombies are out, so you never know where they're coming from or where other players are coming from. So you have to visually look around, and I think it does a good sense of kind of keeping on your toes. King of the Hill is one location where you have to control it. Swarm Deathmatch is 2 teams battling it out with, of course, zombies coming in every so often. Scavenge Raid, where you have to collect resources or take them from other players to earn points. And Vaccine Hunt, which is kind of a capture the flag, where there's only one flag and you have to grab it and hold on to it as long as possible. And of course, all these modes have zombies in them, so it's not just PvP, but also with zombies thrown in. Now, I applaud Saber Interactive for adding in these zombies into these matches, but I kind of feel like it is just more or less a plain PvP experience with zombies thrown in. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more originality, although I do like what they've done, where they would have had a more open map, I would say, where you have teams on opposite sides or maybe even adjacent sides going for similar objectives. And as you get to the objectives, the team that gets to them first, they get points and then move along to the next objective. And you're going to have overlap where the teams come together and then split apart. So you have that conflict in between teams, and then you go away from conflict and you're worrying about only zombies, whereas when you're in conflict with the other team, you're worrying about the other team and the zombies. But overall, I think they did a good job with the PvPvZ aspect of the game. So overall, I think the game is a really good interpretation of the zombie apocalypse. I think they did a good job of gameplay. Graphically, it looks pretty good with limbs flying all over the place, and the horde mechanic is actually pretty nice. Even though you do see the same types of movement from hordes that you would expect. So you have these hordes that will kind of anthill, and they will climb up on top of each other, and you shoot the base and you can take them out, and then they'll try and do the same thing again. And occasionally you get a couple that crawl up. So all in all, I think they do a good job with individual zombies, specialized zombies where you have to change your tactics, and then of course the horde zombies, which are just pouring out. And I think it is very dramatic to see that sort of representation, instead of having 10 zombies or 20 zombies coming at you, and instead having just, it looks like hundreds of zombies coming at you. So I think overall you get that sense of fear, like you're going to be overrun at any second when you have those hordes of zombies coming at you. And you're always kind of on your toes because you have that sense of the zombies could be coming from anywhere, and they do come from anywhere. I saw zombies coming out of the floor from a room that had already been cleared. So yes, they can come from behind you, even though you have cleared all of that out. And they will randomly spawn, and depending on your difficulty level, the number of spawns will increase with the level of difficulty. So there again, stealth elements in the co-op, very important. All in all, for the price, I think it's a great deal, and if you have friends that are into this type of genre, I think it is great. I think it'll be, to get through the different story episodes, I think it'll be very quick, especially on the lower difficulty levels. But that isn't really what this type of game is about. This game is really about progressing and getting those skills and that skill tree filled out, and the different weapons with the different perks available. So I think that is the real game here. And even beyond that, once you have all of the skills available, which are actually pretty good. And the way that they explain these perks are actually very nice. So grenade, increased damage. They say instead of it takes out 50% more zombies, where the base is 14. So you can take out at most 14 with the base grenade, but once you get the upgrade, then all of a sudden you can get 21. So I think they do a good job explaining the skill tree, and the skill tree is very pertinent and actually gives you a decent amount of power for every level that you get. Now I think playing with other players is going to be great. Playing with your friends would be even better. So as I was saying before, if you have friends that would be interested in this type of genre, I think it's a no-brainer to get this game. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to ring the bell before you leave to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. And thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.